All right. What's up, everybody? It's me, Melonie Mac here. Happy Friday. This video is going out way late. And originally, I was just going to do a gameplay for Final Fantasy VII Remake demo, but a change of plans happened. You may or may not notice I have not streamed in a few days. There's just been a lot going on. And I'm not really trying to dive into all that or make this like a personal discussion. I think I'm just going to talk about some of my problems that are relating to it and in the gaming industry. I think that this is a social problem as a whole, but I think that we're seeing it run rampant in the gaming industry, and I'm concerned about it. I'm concerned for a lot of people who feel silenced and can't speak up and can't have opinions because of the hive mind, I guess. It's hard to even dive into this subject because there is a hive mind, and if you go against that hive mind, then you risk getting canceled, or you risk losing your jobs or never being able to work in the industry again, because the way that things are structured right now is that there's people with a certain frame of ideology, and if you in whatever way go against that, you put your own self at risk, your own livelihood, you're forever at risk. And it's sad that it's come to that we can't have our own free thoughts, and that you're risking your livelihood for that. So again, I'm not going to make this super personal about me, and I'm not really going to get into super specifics about a lot of things. I'm going to stay pretty broad because, again, this is like something that's hard to even speak out about without getting absolutely crucified for it. So for my own safety, I am going to keep this as broad as I can, I guess, while still touching on the issue. So all right, so just get right into it, I guess, because, yeah, it's hard, but it is a lot. And I guess the thing, just getting pretty direct, and that is the climate of social justice warriors and the gaming industry. And this is, like I said, a big societal thing. It's not just the gaming industry, but it is running rampant in the gaming industry. Now, just to give just a little bit of background, I grew up in an extremely conservative household and around conservative people. There were things that I believed back then that I don't now. And I think part of what kind of drew me into the social justice crowd was that, I saw the honorable elements of it. You see what they preach with like equality and standing up for women, standing up for marginalized groups in general, and that sounds awesome. I'm like, wow, this is definitely some kind of movement I would like to get behind. And I, ran straight to that. And a lot of things I said, I used a lot of the verbiage, I used a lot of a lot of things that I heard everybody else said, that I was just like fully into it. And I think now I see that it's not that noble. We just want, equality. We just want everybody to have a chance and all this stuff. I don't feel like it is that anymore. It's to the point to where if you don't agree on something, then you are absolutely crucified for it and kicked out of the industry, or your whole livelihood is at stake just for having a different viewpoint on a subject than somebody in the social justice crowd does. And I've talked, and something that's helped open my eyes a little bit more about this is the whole how female characters are portrayed in video games, and I've talked about this so much, and what's sad is that that's the least of our issues, but there's a lot more to that, which I'll go into, but just how female characters are portrayed in general. And that's what really helped open my eyes to this whole movement and stuff. And at first you see, oh wow, you know, we want women to be taken more serious and we want women to be respected. And so we're really, you know, pushing to have these female characters being taken serious. And, you know, if it was just adding diversity and adding a bunch of different types of female characters, yeah, I totally get behind that. But we're seeing such an extreme overcompensation to the point to where female characters, existing ones who were already maybe curvy or dressed in flashy clothing, who were in the US market, I can't speak for other countries, but for the US, we're seeing these characters be changed. Their curves are being taken away and they're being covered up, all in the name of female women rights. Like, oh, she can be taken seriously now because she couldn't be taken seriously before, not in those shorts. And it's that really made me understand that this is oppression. These are the things that I didn't like from the extreme conservative upbringing in surroundings that I was surrounded with. These are the things I didn't like in that. And here we are seeing it on the left side, the extreme left side. And we're seeing it glorified and we're seeing it called progressive, when in reality, what's the difference? Women can't be respected unless they are covered up. It's the same thing. And I've talked about this a lot and I could talk about this a lot more, but honestly, that's the least of our concerns, which is sad because it is a big deal. But you're seeing that with games in the US. And even when, Japan makes games that are also released here in the US, they are forced to censor some things or tone some things down, even because otherwise they will get absolutely ripped apart for it. And to me, that's just absurd when we're seeing male characters that can be shirtless, they can be flashy, they can be these confident power figures, but female characters aren't allowed to be that anymore. Now let's move on to the bigger issue, and that is the fact that people are silenced. I consider myself to be a centrist these days. I've seen and have been on both sides of the extreme. And now I am in the middle, and I will take certain issues by a case-by-case basis and form my own opinion on certain issues based on what I feel is right. So I'm not going to believe anything based on any sort of dogma or anything like that. So that's where I stand. But there are people on different sides. There are people who maybe far this side or far this side. And regardless, I think that they should have the right to believe what they want to believe. And I believe that they should have the right to speak on what they want to believe without being outright, without having their risk of their jobs being taken away. Now, this doesn't mean that people should be able to spew hate speech and be giant bullies and that kind of thing. No, that's wrong, no matter which side you're on. And speaking of that, we're seeing from the social justice crowd who like to preach equality and who like to preach being good to people and who like to preach how mental health is important. We're seeing these same people, there's hashtags, there's tweets, there's posts that get a ton of retweets and shares that are outright man-hating. I mean, outright man-hating. No, you could literally replace the word man with woman, and they would be ripped apart for that exact same tweet or post, and like they should. But instead, because they are picking on men, they get retweets, they get shares. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's cute. Oh, yeah, let's all hate men. That is not equality, and that is wrong. And I'm sorry, but you can't make misogyny any better with misandry. That's not how it works. That's only making the situation worse, and it's only making an us versus them mentality. And that is also rampant. I am so tired of logging onto Twitter and seeing some sort of man-hating post. Like, it happens all the time. I don't think anybody deserves hate for their gender, their skin color, anything like that. Their sexuality, anything like that. Nobody deserves hate for that. Nobody. So just because, men may not be a marginalized group doesn't make it right to outright hate them. But try to see a man say that, try to see a man stick up for himself against that. Not in this climate. They got to be quiet. They got to put up with it. Or agree with it. And that's what's sad, is we're seeing some men agree with it. And I'm just going to be honest here too. is when it comes to misogyny, which is a very real thing, people are discriminate against women, and people are hateful toward women every day. This is a real issue. So I'm not going to say it's not. But you want to know where I personally have experienced this more than anywhere else, and by who I have experienced it from more than anybody? Male feminist allies. And that's just very telling, because these people who are preaching for equality, who are preaching for women's rights, who are preaching for standing up for the marginalized people, are hating those same marginalized people when we speak out against them. So if we disagree, when I disagree with a male feminist on a topic, like for example, Lara Croft's design and how I like her old design, and I thought she looked great when she was curvy and wore shorts, then it's okay to bully me. It's okay to treat me like that because I don't agree with the narrative. So how can you preach tolerance and empathy when you only tolerate and empathize with those who agree with you? It doesn't make sense. And now let's get into cancel culture, because this is what really, really fires me up. It is a basic human right to a fair trial. Doesn't matter what the person's done. They are owed that right. And when you see people hopping on social media to start these smear cancel campaigns, that's not a fair trial. People are seeing one side of a story and they're jumping on it. And people are ending their lives because of it. What does anybody have to gain to cancel somebody? Especially since we're seeing people try to cancel others who are already being held accountable, who are already getting help, who are already being punished in the appropriate ways, legally or whatever it may be. And yet they are still hell-bent on smearing their name on social media. Why is that? And I am so tired of the hive mind of people who will jump on board with that and who will continue to berate and hate somebody they don't even know. We're seeing mentally disabled people being a part of that are being bullied by this. We're seeing people whose side of the story we don't know. And yes, you can still sympathize with a victim and you can still believe a victim, but there are appropriate avenues to take. You know, and people can sit here and criticize me and say, well, you don't know, you've never been abused. I have. And a lot of other people have. There are so many people that you know and you think you know super well, and you don't know what all they've been through. That does not justify a smear campaign against somebody. There are appropriate avenues. And it just bothers me so much that we're in a situation to where you can't even stand up for somebody. You can't even encourage somebody who is seeking help without being demonized for it. You can't say, wow, good for you for seeking mental health help and for doing and for trying to do better, and you get demonized for that. I don't know what the end goal is for these people who jump on these cancel trains. I don't know what the end goal is for these people who just want to get on there and spew hate and vitriol. What is their goal? Isn't the end goal for people who do wrong things to get help? Isn't the end goal for people to do better? I just don't understand how viciously attacking somebody on social media is going to accomplish anything, especially when they are seeking help. Yet here we are. And it's hard because anybody who speaks out against the hive mind, anybody who has a different opinion than the hive mind, risk their entire careers in the gaming industry. So while we do see a lot of the problems with, how female characters are portrayed, for example, and how or any other situation. How do we know that it's even the developers to even feel that way? They might feel like they have to because of the social climate right now. They might feel, I'm sure they would love to have more freedom with creating a female character how they want to, but they feel like they can't because they're going to be ripped apart from it and called misogynistic because they put a character in shorts. It's just a nightmare. It's a literal nightmare. I don't know. This is hard for me to discuss because I would love to dive deeper on this, but I don't really feel like I can because people will be trying to cancel me for it. They already have. I'm not one that likes to get into drama, and I'm not one that likes to be in the middle of all this stuff. And even making this video now, I don't even plan on sharing it on social media. I'm uploading it on YouTube, and whoever watches it, watches it. That's just how it is. But I feel like even the ways that the things that I believe, the things that I picked, that I analyze and I choose for myself that I feel is right versus wrong, even as someone who's a centrist, I feel like I can't even speak out on so many topics because people will try to smear my name, and they have. Now, can you imagine those who are more on the conservative side, what they would get if they actually tried to speak out on how they feel about things? And you know what? I don't have to agree with everybody. I don't agree with everybody. And there are people that I am friends with. I agree with them on some things. I don't agree with them on some things, on both sides and anything in between. But I believe that everybody has a right to speak on what they believe. And whenever you're in a situation to where you will be socially ruined, your whole social and career life will be absolutely ruined just for sharing things that you believe, that's oppression. And this is where we are. And this is why I believe the whole social justice warrior climate that I thought was, this empathetic and tolerant and amazing thing, they're exactly the opposite of what they preach. And I'm not saying everybody within these groups are, because there are some people who are well-intended and who don't realize it. But all I know is my eyes have been opened, and I see a lot of hate from them, and I see a lot of viciousness. You disagree with them, they want to cancel you, and they want to ruin your life to the point where people are ending their lives. And that sounds like a giant bunch of bullies, and I can't stand with that. I don't know what else to say.